Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, I went into Dollar Tree today with my family, and I needed to get some hair clips, and I wanted to get my youngest a balloon because you know how little ones like balloons. And if you recall, I worked in Dollar Tree in high school, and so I have familiarity with like how it is when you go there. So, we went in, and it was quite shocking how disheveled it was. So it looked like a tornado had gone through there, and it was dirty, like the floors hadn't been mopped, and everything was like mismatched, wasn't organized. And it just made me think how some people don't take pride in their jobs, and they don't really appreciate having a job. Yeah, you're not making a whole lot of money being a dollar store cashier, but I think you should take pride in your work no matter what. And slacking off and doing the bare minimum is disgraceful. I recall how when I worked at Dollar Tree, every cashier had, like if you were a closer, you had to go and put everything back on the aisles, like where it goes. So if there was like a can of cat food, they had to go back and you had to stack them nice and make everything real good. So if somebody had looked at, let's say, a pack of pens and then they put it hanging where some nail polish or something is, well, you had to take that and put it back where it goes. And everything was meticulously organized. And this also helps the shopper as well. And it also helps there to not be congestion. When people are shopping and everything's mix match, it takes them longer to find what they're looking for, and makes it very crowded in those cramped aisles. So especially if you have a shopping cart and whatnot, and you really want people to get in and get out so that you can maximize your profits per hour. And it was just shocking, the dilapidation that was there. And there was, like, we were not allowed to leave our cashier posts. You had to always have someone there at the register, not only to protect it from robbery or people who know how to open the register and such, but because it looks very professional. So we went in and there was like no cashiers, and we stood there for a minute until this guy came over and then did his job, and then as soon as he was done ringing us up, he left. And it was like, what has happened to the work ethic? And I know that some people mentioned, like, others have pointed it out, just after the lockdowns, it seems that people got a taste of doing nothing and getting a very small stimulus package and getting unemployment, and they just kind of lost their grind, which is very bizarre. And it's not the first time I've gone somewhere and the customer service is just way poor. Like, it's just not what it used to be. Like, people don't seem as hungry or appreciative. And so this just made me think about how even if you're not getting paid, so much money, you really should take pride and honor in what you do, because someone can see how hard you work and then promote you, recommend you for another job. You think no one's watching, but people are watching. And a good manager really helps workers to always find something to do. When you're at the cash register, you have like Windex or some type of cleaner. No one's around, you got a rag, you spray down, you're making it look nice, you're fixing the gum packs. You want it to look good, and you want to look good. And the fact that they don't have a janitor there cleaning the floors is ridiculous. It's just makes me kind of sad, because America in so many pockets has gone down in its quality and its pride. And then you wonder, like, it's almost like a reflection of people's just entitlement. Like, I'm not going to work hard because I don't have to. And if you want me to work harder, then you got to pay me X amount of money. But you've already shown that you don't really deserve that raise. You want more money, but the money you're getting paid now, you're not even doing the bare, like, you're not Like, you're doing the bare minimum, but you're not even doing the bare minimum in a nice way, right? Windows should be Windexed. Like, it should just look nice. Really should. And it's just quite shocking. It's quite shocking. And it's just hard to find stuff. Maybe you've noticed this as well where you are, but I'm sure some of you have gone into different stores and everything is organized and is usually in the same spot, and it makes finding the things you need better. And Dollar Tree does have a problem with homeless and drug addicts loitering and hanging around, and there's a lot of thefts that go on. Now, Prop 32 in California has made it so if you steal, it's a felony. And we've changed some of the rules now. Instead of, oh, you can steal anything as long as it's under, what was it, $900 or $1,000? I forget. But this led to like a lot of looting, tons of Rite Aid, CVS, and Walgreens closing, putting things behind glass with lock and key. And Nordstrom was raided, Macy's was raided, Target. You know, you would get smash and grabs because of how the liberals tried to basically legalize theft under a certain amount. And Safeway, you know, if there's Safeway, some of them are open 24 hours. And people would walk in, take a couple beers off the shelf, and just walk out. And this, you know, how can you survive when people feel like they can steal? So Dollar Tree has that problem where, since it's $1.25 per item, people feel like, oh, it doesn't matter, I can just steal whatever I want. But then, I think that also leads to people putting less things up on the shelves, so people have less things to steal. And it's pretty pathetic that you can't pay for something and then you think you can just steal whatever you want. It's really quite horrible. It just shows you that how many Americans would prefer to steal than pay for something honestly. And it's just horrible. So hopefully you can get motivated that, sure, you may be a busser, you may work at a car wash, whatever it is. If you keep doing good, someone might see you and be like, you know what, I'm gonna give that guy or woman an opportunity, because I always see them doing something, you know. When I was a server, we would open up in the morning and it would be pretty slow for breakfast in one of the places I was at. So in the back they have these tubes of like the different cleaners. I get some bleach, a bucket, put on some gloves, get a towel, fresh towel, get the cold water with the bleach, you know, bucket of bleach and water, put the rag in there. And we had these really pretty old-fashioned doors on the wall for display that were different colors, and it was really rustic looking, but they'd get dirty a lot by customers eating, you know, and for some reason there'd be like splattered like sauce or something. I don't know how people making this much mess, but or kids, they eat and then they touch the wall, and I would go through and I would wipe that down and it would look really nice after. And so I'd always find something to organize, to restack, to polish, because it helps you burn time instead of just standing there. Because if a boss sees you just standing there, they think, oh, you know, we don't really need this person, we're paying them, but they're not really making a profit for us really, and so we can cut them. And if you're like a smart server or busser, you're restocking sugars, you're wiping down your table, straightening a fork or a knife, you keep yourself moving. And in your section, you know, you can wipe down the chairs, wipe down the banquettes, you know, like the booths, if you have a booth style, the seats. You know, you don't want to get it too wet right before a customer sits down, but you make it look nice. Another thing we used to do was get the menus, if they have that glossy covering, and just, you know, wipe them down, all of them. There's just countless things you can do. If you have the old-fashioned phones that they use, you know, pick up the receiver, wipe it down, clean it. Like, you're always doing something, and your station is always clean. Side work, we would call it. You do side work, and you don't get distracted with side work once it gets busy, but you be very careful with being too idle, you know, because you want to have enough staff to make it work properly. Like, a skeleton crew during a busy rush hour is a nightmare. So if you keep busy, the boss has more incentive to not send you home early. And when you're a cashier, there's ways to make yourself valued. And I'm sure every market and store has a different thing. But even when I did retail, I would dust off the jackets, vacuum the floors, Windex the display, rearrange the display. There was a glass case where I used to sit that had different jewelries, so I'd spray that down, make it real nice, and then I'd pick up each jewelry object, and then you have a little polishing rag, and you polish them, put them back. Like, you gotta make it nice so that if your boss pops in to check on you, you're doing something. You're not staring at your phone. I would always put my phone in my backpack, and I had a little lock on my backpack because I don't trust nobody. Especially if yes, ideally they could steal your whole backpack, but obviously someone's going to notice that, and you're going to notice that, and it's going to be more hard and clumpy, and it'll catch on the cameras easily, right? But if you have your purse, it's easy to just open and take out a phone. And phone thefts are very common, and I never like to keep my phone on me because it's distracting, and you don't want bad news while you're working. And if it's an emergency, they can always call your job directly. If there's an emergency, you can contact me through my boss, and then it doesn't reflect on me. You know what I'm trying to say? Because if you're like, oh, it's an emergency, your boss isn't, you're probably looking at Facebook, some other bull crap, and your boss ain't gonna believe you. But if someone calls, your work phone, then they know it's real, right? And they're not gonna judge you for that. But I knew so many girls who would be arguing with their boyfriends while they're at work via text, and they can't focus on their tables because they're too distracted. And then they're almost wanting to cry, or they're crying in the walk-in, and deal with the drama after you clock out. That was my strategy, so I would always put my phone away. And when you put your phone away, you gotta pass time in a more productive manner. And it's important for people to remember that you gotta earn your money, and you have more pride in what you do, and you feel less lethargic and less bored. So going into that Dollar Tree was shocking, because you're like, what the hell are you guys even doing? Just standing around. Like, how can you look at something so messy and not want to fix it? How could you want to work in a place that looks like a car ran through it? Like, don't you care? It's like people who show up with like a dirty uniform. It's just bizarre. So, remember, if you take pride in your work, inshallah, there'll be somebody there. I remember I was working as a barista slash bartender. It was like a front house position. It was in a busy Italian cafe. They didn't have cocktails, but they sold beer, wine, and coffees, teas, sodas, like Italian sodas, And it was really busy in a tourist area. And I'm working hard, You could see the teas, like we had loose leaf teas. And if the container is getting low, you go to the back. Okay, let's put some more Earl Grey. Let's, mix it up. We gotta restock this. And the syrup bottles for like caramel or something. Pick them up, get a wet rag, polish it. Like, you're always doing something. The machine itself, the coffee machine, you get the wand, steam that towel, wipe down the machine, keeping everything looking fresh, And then somebody in a very nice fine dining restaurant, he was apparently scouting for employees. And this was a very nice restaurant, and he gave me his business card and was like, hey, if you ever are looking for a different type of opportunity, we're looking for servers, at this location. And I ended up not taking it because I was fine where I was, but it was cool that there's people out there who they're looking for talent. It's poaching, it's poaching talent, right? You go to a place, you see someone working hard, you want to take their employee, but that's competition. And so don't lose hope. And remember, a lot of the customers a lot of them own businesses or know someone who does, and they can give you an opportunity. They can recommend you. I mean, I know countless people who got their job not through resume, but for word of mouth. And that's an amazing thing, because let's say your boss is going to lay some people off, and you are suspecting you might be one of them, and you start texting people you know, like, hey, do you know any place that's hiring? And they're like, yeah. They know your work ethic. They're not afraid to recommend you, because no one wants to put their name on the line when they think you won't show up and do a good job. So work hard, and customers, bosses, and whatnot will recommend you. And it's important to remember that. I think some people overlook that. They feel stuck and like, why should I care? But in reality, if you show up, put in your best effort, inshallah, you can use that. And back in the day, I don't know if they do it anymore, but when you called, employers would call your past job and ask about your work references. And they would be like, okay, how was this? How was that? It wasn't like today where you can just lie. If you look up, I don't know if they'll show up on Google anymore, but I remember reading articles about how many people lied on LinkedIn and still got the job. And there's this Twitter page called Festhole, X page, and I've noticed how many people said they lied on their resume, and the places never called to fact check to see if what was being stated was true. And this leads to that phrase called fake it till you make it. And that's not a safe process. That's not a safe thing to do. So, put your all in. Put your all in. No matter what kind of job you have. No matter what kind. Because people will work with you and they remember your work ethic. Like, there's been some busters I work with. They work really hard. Always on top of things. Refilling waters and coffees and you name it, iced teas. I don't have to tell them. I would tip them well. And they're on point, man. They're on the ball. And then when boss is like, hey, do you know anybody who can, work this day and that day? And you're like, yeah, let me see. And then you go to your older coworker in your other job. And you say, hey, man, my boss is looking for this. You interested? And they're like, yeah, vámonos. Let's go. And then you just hook that person up with the job. And then your boss saw you brought in some good talent. Now you're looking good in the boss's favor. Showing your boss that you know how to recognize hard work, right? Because I have recommended girls before to work because they were my friends, and then they didn't really do that good a job, and I was like, dang, man, that's not cool. Like, they didn't work hard. Like, I need to be more careful. And then I wised up. I'm like, okay, it's not about how nice they are to you or how close you are with them personally, but it's about performance, work performance. So never underestimate, networking. There will be people, customers, bosses, co-workers, who will see you putting it all in, even if you're doing it all yourself, and be like, that's the kind of worker I want. And I've worked in all kinds of jobs, so I know each job has its own way of seeking talent. But if you slack off and you do the bare minimum, you take no pride in your work, you let things get disheveled, who wants to hire you? Because, look at you, you're working at Dollar Tree and you can't even do a good job. Why should you be trusted with a more important process? We expect you to just step up? No. Let me know what you think. Maybe you have had some similar experiences in life. Maybe you have worked hard yourself and then been given another better opportunity. Let me know. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Join the blog. Support the channel. www.subscribestar.com/MahonArchive. Hope to see you there.